enable yourself to down the path. It's a very interesting concept, and of course it's not for now, not for discussion for now. But as many have discussed, Rabbi Graydon touched on, Rabbi Goldberg, all touched on, we focus on Tisha B'Av, Sinas Dina. Faithful hatred for another Jew, and we all know, the Cook and others say, the antidote, the opposite is Avas Dina. Really love a fellow Jew. It's not so easy to do. It's like feel. Might even be harder than feel. Is love someone, really love people. There's many aspects into making someone a very successful mechanic. A person has to be a very good kalachah. A person also has to have certain talent. A person has to have certain training. But one aspect that is often missed is a person has to love his Talmidim. Talmidim of all ages have very sensitive antennae, whether the Rabbi or the Mora really cares for them. They're very sensitive and they pick it up very quickly. Baruch Hashem, I've had this close to know Rabbi Stulberger for a number of years, to say the least. And during our years in yeshiva, I know he was an accomplished Talmid Chacham and an accomplished Baal Midos, and of all aspects. But the question is, why is he so successful in his Arbat Torah? Many people have those qualities, but maybe are not as successful in Arbat Torah. So I think the answer lies in his unbounding Ahavas Yisrael. Again, I could say, as a satisfied customer, my boys have been mechunach by Rabbi Stulberger, and I can tell you that one of the things, besides all the other ones I mentioned, is you can ask Avrohom, you can ask Chaim, you can ask Kovi. They really feel the love, and all the Talmidim, I can tell you, others that I know, feel the love that Rabbi Stulberger really has for each and every single one of them. So therefore, if you want to have an example of how to overcome this destructive trait of Sinas Dina, so well, we got to use Rabbi Yisrael's model. We got to show you someone who has unbounding Ahavas Yisrael. And so, Hashem with his Rebbetzin here is another example of that. Could be, besides his own personal work, I think the Yarshan is from Rashiva and the Rebbetzin, Alayim Shalom, their aunt and uncle, who obviously had this, but it's of course a lot their own work on themselves. So, but it's a very big plus for us to have Rabbi Stulberger discuss with us creating one's own light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you, Rabbi Summers. But if you want me to come back anytime in the future, you have to shorten the introduction, please. It's a great place to be here in a special shul, and special Malkum Torah, Malkum Tefillah. And I've heard over the years, maybe you've heard it too, Rabbi Krohn has one of his many speeches, he ends with a beautiful story. I'm going to begin with that story, and I'll make it very short, because it's a beautiful story when used as a punchline of a message. Is very powerful. But he shares a story about Sheila, the developmentally challenged young man who is waiting for his parents on a Sunday afternoon. He's watching a ball game, and to make a long story short, somehow there's a tight game going on with the boys who are not challenged physically in any which way. And it's getting to the bottom of the ninth inning, and somehow Sheila requests to be part of the game, and he comes in with the bases loaded in a critical situation, but somehow the boys relent to let him pinch hit to somebody else, and one of the teammates helps Sheila hold the bat, and Sheila hits the ball and just dribbles a slow roller to the pitcher, and he comes in, and the pitcher comes in, and everyone's saying, Sheila run to first, and his awkward style is running to first base, and the pitcher throws the ball over the first baseman's head, and it runs out, and goes down the right field line, Sheila is rounding first, on his way to second, the right fielder throws the ball over the second baseman, and it rolls into the left field corner, and before you know, Sheila's rounding third, everyone's saying, Sheila, go home, Sheila, go home. By the time Sheila goes home and reaches home plate, he's being carried by both teams in a moment of tremendous optics, a tremendous sense of what could be accomplished by Klal Yisrael when we let things go by. It's a beautiful story, and again, certainly not here to try to bring it to you like Rabbi Krohn could, in an interval style, bring it to you. But it sort of struck me. I've thought about it for years, and also after spending many years in a wonderful camp, we still go there in Magen Av, and I used to, my wife and I we were right next to, our bunk was aligned right next to the Avrohom group. The Avrohom also is a group of these boys who have a lot of challenges, and they're very sweet neshamas, and they're trying to Baruch Hashem enjoy the summer, and they would have counselors. Very often there would be pretty much one counselor for every boy. And it sort of struck me when I look at these counselors, and these were regular 16, 17-year-old kids. And you look at the way they take care of these young boys. Some of them are wheelchairs, clearly everyone with their own unique challenges. The dedication, the love, the commitment, it was overwhelming. It was just, you would just sort of, stood there and you were amazed. My gosh. Then something hit me. I would see the exact same boy who would have no problem rubbing off his face during a meal, rubbing the dirt, no problem changing a sheet in the middle of the night, no problem tending to any physical need of this young boy that was sort of his particular focus for that particular summer. Goes on now many camps and boys camps and girls camps, and it's a tremendous thing. It is a tremendous chesed. I'm not chas v'shalom trying to minimize it at all. But it struck me that same fellow who would be so unflinching with his readiness to help and to care and to give to this young man, you'd see him amongst his buddies, you'd see him on the basketball court, you'd see him just, on his off time when he's rolling with his, you'd see anger and resentment and fighting, and it can't be the same guy, could it? No way. I just said, you're such a Baal Chesed, aren't you? You're so kind, you're so sweet, you're so wonderful. What's going on? You have a split personality? And it struck me then, and it's maybe an obvious point to many of us, but it struck me that we very often have sort of collective or selective, I should say, selective chesed, modus operandi within us. And it's really struck me that possibly, very often when we do chesed to people somewhat removed from us, or sometimes very different than us, maybe subconsciously part of it is saying, Baruch Hashem, it's not me. Baruch Hashem, to somebody very different than me, somebody very far away from me, somebody who I don't have to maybe deal with on a regular basis, maybe somebody who I don't expect to hit the basket in the last few seconds of the game. I don't expect him to pop up with the base loaded in the bottom of the ninth inning with 2 outs. You're supposed to get the hit. When you blow it, you I will let have it. You I expect more from. You did this. We have a different mentality. And it is very clear that sometimes the people closest to us are the ones we seem to be so easy and most prone to blast and show anger, show some type of impatience with. It doesn't make any sense. And I think it just struck me that it's probably for this reason, when the Torah tells us, when the Torah tells us to love every Jew as if we would be dealing with ourselves. Madalach Sani says to Gemara, what is hated unto you, he'll define the pasuk, what is hated unto you, do not do unto your fellow Jew. That's the definition of Avrohom Kamocha. Whatever is hated on, whatever you don't like about anything being done to you, you can't do to anybody else. Right at the end of the passage is Ani Hashem. It's clear, and a lot of things started becoming very clear that HaKadosh Baruch Hu demands from us a lot more than what comes very natural. Because for one person it's this type of chesed, for another person it's that type of chesed. We know our liberal Jews love to save the whales and save every possible cause in the world. Our Jewish chaver, there are a lot of wonderful feelings and emotions in the world. And if we just let them go sort of on a natural flow, that's very nice. Because Baruch Hu says to us, Ani Hashem. I want you to understand that when you talk about midos, when you talk about we talk about relationships between one Jew and another, it has to stem, and I believe this is not just for issues of relationships, but will hopefully expand it as well. Ani Hashem. It's got to be rooted in a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have to know why you're doing chesed. If you're doing chesed because it feels good, that's not enough. I mean, feeling good, it's not the purpose of our life. The purpose of life is to have true joy, true connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, true happiness. But when we're naturally, when we're naturally going with the flow, and we're not sort of channeling ourselves and challenging ourselves to ask ourselves, what is it that HaKadosh Baruch Hu really wants from me? My chesed needs to be rooted in a recognition of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and a recognition that this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from me, and there's nothing greater than my obligation to this fellow Jew. Anochi Hashem, keep HaKadosh Baruch Hu in mind. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, what do I do? What is my world? My world is a world of people. I bestow kindness upon the entire world. And when you do chesed to another Jew, and to anybody else for that matter, because it's a fascinating concept. Avrohom Avinu is sitting, we all know the story, of the third day of his bris milah. And he sees three Arabs coming down the road. These were not Jews. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is visiting him. Being the Vatach Chol, we learn our Bikach Chol from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's visit from Avrohom Avinu. Avrohom says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, excuse me, I have to take care of something. I mean, if we would know any better, we'd say it bordered on chutzpah. You say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, excuse me, I have to go tend to three Arabs. I just think about the moment Avrohom Avinu was so longing for HaKadosh Baruch Hu's connection, a man who had this vision of understanding what HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what he really was, that existed all together in the world. And now he's visiting you, taking care of you, and connecting with you, where he's being makabel play shchinam. Avrohom Avinu is receiving the divine countenance, and he says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, excuse me, I gotta go somewhere. It doesn't make sense. And more than that, doesn't make sense. Not only is he not criticized for it, he's extolled for it. From here we learn out from here we learn out that Gado hachnosas orchim yosef kabos pnei shchina. Greater than greeting HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking to somebody who needs a piece of sponge cake and a cup of tea. Right now I probably wouldn't hit the spot, but that's greater. Does that make sense? How do you say such a thing? Greater than? And how did Avrohom Avinu know that? How did Avrohom Avinu calculate that? How could he have known to say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, excuse me? And I think that's this answer. The answer is because when we understand what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us, he wants us to emulate it. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have favorites. He loves every single person in this world universally. We are all his children. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a unique family. We have a collective connection by the fact that we're human beings, and we have the more unique connection by the fact that we're all Jews. And as Jews, we have a unique bond and a unique obligation, but it comes from the fact that we are HaKadosh Baruch Hu's children. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, take care of my children. It struck home to me the concept of the famous shmuz of David Zatzal, our Rebbe's Rebbe, David Leibowitz Zatzal, who said the shmuz about why was it that the Torah injects right where those two great women, Yocheved and Miriam, are not killing Jewish babies. We know many women throughout Jewish history who could not possibly kill a Jewish child. No matter what, who would say, kill a baby? I can't do it. So you'd imagine, it's motherly love, it's basic motherly instincts. You ask me to kill, I'm a midwife and I'm giving birth to children, I'm giving birth to baby boys, and you tell me to kill them and I can't kill them? The Torah just said, the women didn't kill the babies because they love the baby. How can you do it? They're human beings. Torah throws in, David throws in, Vaterena hamiyaldos eselokim. The midwives feared HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to be thrown in? We're not asking how long they daven Shema. That's straightforward. We're not asking, how many mitzvahs they did all day. Just tell me they couldn't kill the babies because they couldn't kill the babies. Because even when you can't kill babies because you can't kill them, that's not the reason not to kill them. The reason not to kill them is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells you this is not what you're supposed to do. It needs to be rooted in a deep emotional and intellectual connection with the Ratzon Hashem. Because only then are we truly accurate, and only then can we go way beyond our natural tendencies. If it's our natural tendencies and our motherly instincts, what might be instinctual now might not be so natural an hour from now. But if we're rooted in a recognition of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want? What is this chesed all about? It's about, I've already understood, it's about, I have to, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu does chesed all day. He does not distinguish. No matter what a person is going through, it's chesed. What an incredible statement. We think we understand what tragedy is about. We just read this morning. It hit me this morning. We read about the Asar Yom Malchus, and we read about Rabbi Akiva, who died of Nisha Mishur, such a horrible death. A baskol comes out of Shemayim. Ashrecha Rabbi Akiva. 40 years died Rabbi Akiva. Ashrecha? The man has died of Nisha Mishur. You see Ashrecha? And it just shows us how limited we are. If we understand the full picture, that now your guf is tahara, b'chol minei tahara. Because before, however holy he was one of the greatest people of all Jewish history. But Rabbi Akiva somehow was elevated through this particular act of what? Of one of the most horrific deaths you've ever imagined. Ashrecha? After the fact, when that person's in Shemayim, it's Ashrecha. We don't get it. We're crying, and we're losing. Yes, we lost so much. We lose so much. We're going through so much difficult times. But it's we're the ones who are suffering. The chesed to the individual is no question. Whatever happens to any individual, there's no question. It's unbounding and unlimited love from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to that individual. As tragic as we're viewed with it, the tears are flowing down our eyes. We don't have Rabbi Akiva anymore, so therefore we're crying. Of course we're crying because we lost something special. But for Rabbi Akiva, Ashrecha Rabbi Akiva. Shegufach tahira, b'chol minei tahara. And before he died, his guf was tahara with every possible measure, just maybe one less. But that advancement of your gufach tahara, your body now is holy for the next world, somewhat, and your spiritual dimensions are somewhat elevated for the next world. Ashrecha. That's the greatest chus. We have tunnel vision. So we just know what's right in front of us. We just know the pain of the loss. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees everything. And he's Kulei Chesed. Kulei Chesed. There is not all the tragedies we read about and all the tears we shed this morning for the Kiddush. There was not one aspect of anything we read that did not reflect the absolute Chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when this is the basis of our reaching out to people, when we look at every Jew, and we don't look at it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not look at it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not ask, what am I going to get out of this relationship? And why should I do the chesed? And, what's in it for me? Or was this person nice to me? Or does he deserve the chesed? HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks those questions. HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestows unlimited, unflinching, boundless love. Doesn't matter if the person's challenged, not challenged, close, spouse, child, parent, doesn't matter. And for us, it can't matter. That's, I believe, where it's so challenging, where we have to rise above. It's in a sense, I wouldn't say it's easy to do chesed, but it's easier when it flows real nicely. And maybe that's a place to start, where it flows real well. But we need to know that the challenge is to not make kiddush, to not pick and choose. That every single Jew, when we think about this family, and it struck me as maybe we move on to another dimension, but how it struck me how it's so helpful to think of Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a family unit. And that family unit is in any way complete. The children are not doing well. I thought of, the Chavetz Chaim says every single modern technology, every gadget that's here that we have is on the world for one reason. For Klal Yisrael to learn a lesson from it. So, as my wife and I, she's on it more often than I am because she has maybe enough more time, but just maybe more connection or whatever the reason is. But she, Baruch Hashem, Skypes a lot to Eretz Yisrael. She sees the children, the grandchildren. We have the grandchildren in Eretz Yisrael in New York. Skype. Who doesn't use Skype? Okay, even now I give sometimes the dean's office on Skype. Skype is a very wonderful technical phenomenon that we've developed in this world. Wonderful. It just sort of struck me. So I was just trying to think about it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Klal Yisrael, and I just sort of brought the feelings of the moment of what this time is about, and just somehow it connected to me through Skype. And it's like HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that I talk to my kids, I talk to my grandchildren, and it's wonderful to see them, but it's not the real thing. I mean, I'd love to hug them. They're in New York, they're in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, you don't have the opportunity, so you settle on Skype. but it's not the same as having them at your Shabbos table. It's not the same as embracing them and hugging them and feeling them. It's not the same. It's nice, it's not the same. Because Baruch Hu came to us about 2,000 years ago, and he said, it's not working. You know, this family unit, it's not working. You're taking advantage. We're too close. This sense of comfort you have has led you astray to a level of self-absorption and level of disconnect that I can't let it happen anymore. So I'm not leaving permanently, but we're gonna Skype. We're just gonna Skype. I'm there. I'm in the, you can get to me, and I'm not leaving, but I'm not gonna be as close. But we will get together. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu leaves a little webcam in all of our homes and all of our clothing, and he follows us all around, which we have nowadays too. When you want to make sure your babysitter is doing a good job, you just leave a little camera in the room and you check things out. And he observes. And he said, I'd love to come back. I'm dying to come back. I'm dying to rebuild this bias. I want nothing more than to restore the proper glory of the purpose of this world, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu rests on his throne, where we all recognize and the world recognizes who he is. That's the purpose of creation. It's not that complicated. It's clarity. The purpose of creation, the Ramban says it very, very clearly at the end of Bo. The purpose of this world is clarity. It doesn't have to get very mystical, very Kabbalistic. It's plain and right there for us to understand. It's for us to know fully and recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That can't happen when we're Skyping. That can't happen when there's a distance. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I want to come back, but the family unit needs to be in order. So number one, you got to take care of my kids. I got to make sure my children, you, meaning you're the siblings. We're all the siblings together. We're all this family. If we can't get along, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm not ready to come back. Because if I'm not here, you guys can't get together. We saw when I was here what happened. So you've got to first show me you can get together. You've got to first show me that this family unit is a family that can function. Number one. So I think if we look at it this way, and we understand this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying to us, Sinas Tina ripped us apart from that Baya Sheni. It needs to go back to the core of what Ahavas Yisrael is all about. It's Ani Hashem. It's that Vatirena Ami Avos Esel Elokim. It's that recognition. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is absolutely part of the equation. If we somehow discount HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and a lot of people look at it this way. For some reason, you got the mitzvah b'rol ha'makom, and you have the mitzvah b'rol ha'chaver. There's my interpersonal relation, and there's my relation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They're not separate. It's one thing. It's one unit. If we're just picking and choosing our friends, and the people we do chesed to, and the people we want to care about, if every Jew's lack of recognition of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Jews sitting in Simi Valley and anywhere in the world who have no idea what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is about, if that doesn't pain us and somehow hit us right in the guts in terms of, maybe I can't do anything about it, maybe I can knock on the door and say, come to shul with me. We had a wonderful shul on Robertson and Cassia that we'd love to have you come to, and we'll give you the greatest Shabbos you ever had in your entire life. And maybe we can't do that, but at least it's got to pain us. At least we got to feel it. We can't be comfortable. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to leave you for a while, but we'll be Skyping. And when he left, what happened when he left? Gemara Sukkah says, why do we have all these mitzvahs connected to the Korban Abayis? Why do we break a glass at every wedding? And why is it that so many, we build a beautiful home, we leave some plaster, some parts unpainted? Why do we go through all of these calculations and all these actions, says the Gemara? Because one of the things we do is we do a lot of mitzvahs Zeichel Churban, and whatever they do in the Beis Mikdash, we do Zeichel Churban, and we also do certain mitzvahs like Lulav and Esther. What they did in the Beis Mikdash, we do today. We want to recall. We're constantly recalling what went on during that time. So why? Because the Gemara says, I want to bandage you up from your wounds. I want to heal you, said Hashem. Because they called you forsaken. Zion he Dosh. It is Zion, it is Sion, and there's no Dorish. There's nobody who's looking out for it. And the Chazal, we learn if no one's looking out for it, means we have to look out for it. We learn out from there that when there's no one looking out, when there's no one caring, when there's no one longing, when we're not missing it, that's a problem. So we see from this Gemara that when the Chazal instituted all these things, we have to miss Sion. We have to miss Yerushalayim. What are we missing? It's hard to miss something we can't imagine. A beautiful edifice, it's hard to, I don't think that's in a Kudah. Even the Beis HaMikdash was really a means to an end. I believe, again, it goes back to the same concept. Because Baruch Hu says to Malach HaShores, my children will want me back. They will not be happy that we're Skyping. They're going to want, and they're going to be calling, Tati, Avinu Shabbat Shemayim, Avinu Malkeinu, we need you closer. Let's watch. Let's see. And when things are good, Zion ain't Irish. There's nobody looking out. There's nobody missing. There's nobody who's concerned about it. So when things are going good, and we are not missing this connection to Kodesh Baruch Hu, if somehow it's somehow comfortable for us that we're not looking out for it, then that's the most horrible situation. Imagine a father who has that webcam on, who says goodbye, whose tears are flowing day after day, and he's looking at his kid. He doesn't want his kid to be miserable. He doesn't want his kid to be unhappy. He wants his kid, even if Hashem b'simcha, every day that he's away, he wants his kid to be happy. But he wants his kids to miss him. He wants his kids to say, at least those 3 times a day when HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, at 8 o'clock, and at 2 o'clock, and at 8 o'clock, and at 8 o'clock again at night, you can call me. I'll be waiting at the phone. And you don't call, or you call and you say, we got to make this real fast, I got a real quick appointment, so our davening is rushed, our davening isn't focused, and we have a shir to learn, and as a wise man once said, when we daven, we talk to Hashem, and we learn, Hashem talks to us. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to communicate to us through shir, and maybe we're a little bit too lax, we're not as ready, and not as focused, and not as committed to attend, or to listen, or to really put in the effort, it's devastating. Imagine what it would be for a father to see that his kids are rolling along and there's not one mention of daddy, and there's not one mention of, and then the Skype thing goes off, and there's maybe even a little bit of a sigh. Oh, I got to spend time again on Skype. Bubby and Zeta calling again. That would be devastating. That would rip your heart out. But that happens sometimes. And the tough times is very easy to turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I believe, He gave us a lot of good times too. And he gave us situations where, at that time, are we going to be focused on the wealth and on the money and on success and on the American dream? Or are we going to still understand every single day, there's not one day that goes by that HaKadosh Baruch Hu that says you have to think about the Beis HaMikdash, not about the stones and the mortar, the bricks per se, but we're not together. We're not hugging each other yet. We haven't realized what we're going for. And if a Jew, I've said this to the kids many times in school, it does not seem out of the realm of possibility. When Mashiach comes now, it's much easier to imagine. What's going to happen? Mashiach is going to come. This doesn't have to be how we're going to find out. No problem. Everyone's going to get a text message. Okay? And everyone's going to get their own flight. So that, maybe another. We hope it happens right away. But in today's technology, maybe another. We don't want it to. We want it to be today. But in today's world, technology will be okay. So you're on the 440 to El Al, Teretz Yisrael, and then this one you're on this one, you're on that one, and that's how we're all gonna. Now, can you imagine? Is it within the realm of possibility where you can maybe try to return the call and say 440 doesn't really sit into, can we make it on, can I get to 650 maybe? Can we come on to 650 because I got a business meeting and maybe there's a big bull game that I'd like to see, or maybe something else. Is it within the realm of possibility we can feel that way? I think it is. I think there are times that we might be in situations where maybe we might be feeling it doesn't totally envelop us. This is the number one feeling in life, the number one emotion. When the Chavetz Chaim heard a rumbling outside his window, he ran away. He ran to the closet to get his Mashiach, special Mashiach suit, because I have to put a special suit on to greet Mashiach. It's got to be. He was consumed by that feeling, because underlying every aspect of his life, and he was a man very happy. He smiled at everybody, and he was into the Hashem B'Simcha beyond anybody's possible comprehension. But at the gut of his existence was a empty feeling. I'm not connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not fully. I don't have that hug. I don't have that intimacy. We're not in Yerushalayim. I can't bring my korbanos. I can't go to the Kohen and do the waving of the tanuf of the korban shlamim. We're not there yet. He loves me. I know he's there, and I pray to him every single day with all my heart. Says the Prophet. But Mashiach, that's the time when things really become clear. And I think it goes much deeper. The Bali wants to say an incredible thing. When we feel this, when we can actually feel this pain, when we actually have that connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts on the webcam, he doesn't have to put it on, it's on all the time, and he sees us, and he sees, we're from Baruch Hashem, like children, they're doing okay. Baruch Hashem, I don't want them to be miserable, I don't want them to be depressed, but they really miss me. They really miss me. There's a void in their lives. It's in Allah, Yushalayim Aroy Simchasi, Ketidrak Lishoni Lechiki, we sing it every wedding. We say it before benching during this time. We have to put Yushalayim at the utmost of our thoughts. And when we do, incredibly, it's not just that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. It's not that, it's just that's what we only collectively, when we reach that collective threshold, where as a people, we are longing for that connection once again. When we understand we are a family unit, and our father's away, and our kids are not getting along, and we want Tati back so we can give them a big hug, and we're going to take care of our brothers and sisters because they're our family. When we fully have that recognized within our hearts, there's simcha right there. The Bali Musa make an incredible diak in the Gemara Tainus, and it says, it's quoted in Allah, anybody who has true mourning on Yerushalayim, Zochevro b'simchasa. That mourning, those tears, there's so many inherent contradictions apparently about Tisha B'Av. It's the saddest day of the year, it's the happiest day, not the happiest day, but it will be the happiest day of the year. And right now we don't say Tachlis. We didn't say Tachlis. Why do we? When it'll be Yontif, it'll be Yontif. Because it's a Yontif even now. Because they say, anybody who properly more than Yishlaim doesn't say Yishka. The Medayik does not say he will be Zocha, she will be Zocha to see Yerushalayim. No. Zocha v'rob b'simchasa. The schus, the vision, the connection, the joy happens right now. If we feel that longing, if we feel that connection, when we feel a connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu, when you feel that Kadosh Baruch Hu, Tati, I miss you, and you really feel it. He's part of your life now. And how do you know he's part of your life? Not because you don't think about him, because you do think about him, and you are connected to him. And when you do, that brings a sense of joy. He's never left me. He's always here. And yes, it's not what we need yet, but I know that feeling is there. That in a sense, I have it. I have that joy already in my heart. It struck me. We make a bracha, the fourth bracha in bench. Hatova make it. Why do we make a bracha of Hatova Meitiv? It was added. It was added to benching. Why? Because of tremendous chesed. They were able to bury the incredible amount of people who passed away in Arugei Beita, this horrible tragedy. Equal, they say, in numbers and equal in just power, in dimension to Churban HaBayis, if that's possible. So I understand. So Martin Giddin tells us, we come back, we see what's going on, the tragedy, the Romans wiped out this incredible city, and practically all of its inhabitants, we come to bury them. The bodies didn't putrefy, it stayed whole, it stayed proper, we gave them a proper burial, and we were able to, and plus the bodies were still, didn't decompose. So it was double chayv. Could you imagine? I mean, Tova Meitiv, a bracha under those conditions. It's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine that we have a Lag BaOmer because the students of Rabbi Akiva stopped dying. I mean, that's a Lag BaOmer, they stopped dying. I mean, I'm sitting here in such tragedy and such horror. And the 24,000 giants that Rabbi Akiva taught the base of Medrash are no longer here, but they stopped dying. How do we make that into a class? It's a partially on this. How do we make a bracha on such situations? The answer is because those episodes and those moments reinforced HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still here. It gave us a glimpse, it gave us an opening that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still here. And once did you have that feeling, that level of, because at the end of the day, everything, the tragedy all cancels. Ashrecha, Rabbi Akiva. For us, and for anybody in Klal Yisrael, whatever happens to any one of us, it should all be good and bracha, only should be good health and everything for everybody. But at the end of the day, whatever happens is Kol Chesed. For the individuals, Kol Chesed. It's everybody else that sort of deals with the tragedy and the tears and the crying and the horror. But for the individuals, Kol Chesed. In the calculation up in Shemayim, it ends up all for the good. So when Klal Yisrael sees, when the Chazal saw, HaKadosh Baruch Hu left, he hasn't left us. He's shown us by this incredible chesed of allowing us to bury these people, of the fact that now it's over. Like Omer made a mark that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said this was a sign from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's ended. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're still giving us. You haven't left. You haven't left completely. You're still behind the scenes. I see you. I connect to you. That brings a person to joy that nothing else can compare to. That's how Rabbi Akiva could be walking on the Temple Mount together with his friends at the end of Gevar Makos, and they're all crying when they see the fox running out of the base of Mikdash. And they see Rabbi Akiva laughing. They say to Rabbi Akiva, why are you laughing? He said, well, why are you crying? Well, we're crying because look at this. This is the glory. A fox running out of the base of Mikdash, a fox running out of the ruins. This is what Klal Yisrael is right now. Look how Nafla Teres Reishenu. And Rabbi Akiva says, that's why I'm laughing. Because when I see this happen, I know this is the word. These are the words of the Navi, and it is absolutely clear to me that Nevuah that talks about the rebuilding is going to happen. How this is all a master plan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I know that the Yeshua is around the corner. Right around that corner, and we know, I think it's a Rabbi who says, we're going to read it soon in the Haftorah. I leave you for Berega Kotna Zavtich, Ubrachim Godol HaKapsei. Berega Kotna Zavtich. 2,000 years is a short golus. I left you for a brief moment, and I capture you together, and I bring you together with great compassion. Yeah, because when that happens, when that moment happens, Be'ez Hashem B'Karav Yameinu, it's going to be with such rachamim that it's going to seem like a small second. So Rabbi Akiva had the big picture. And yes, of course you have to cry. And we have this day of crying, but within this day of crying, there's so much connection that we can muster from that day. And it's not a day that, sure, in a few hours we can eat. And Tisha B'Av has to be the source. It's in the sense that day where our Tati said that's the day that he started to Skype with us. But he's Skyping every day. That's the day that it happened. That's the day when he said, this relationship isn't working anymore. That's the day when he walked away and he said, you can get to me, but it won't be that hug. I will not embrace you till you're ready. And this is for your good, not for my good. This is for your good. And we're waiting for that embrace. But we miss that embrace every single day. This is the day that we focus in on it to the point where we recreate it in our mind and we focus on what happened and why did it happen. And we look to make it better. And we look to rectify the wrongs. But let's make no mistake. There's not a day that goes by that we can't recognize and have in our hearts, I don't have Tati's hug. I miss my father. I want to be in Yerushalayim. I want to be in a moment and in a place where HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Shina is so clear and so divinely there. And I'll prove to you it's possible. Even in today's world, even in a world more horrible than today, as sad as today is, Baruch Hashem, we have our health, we have our families. There was a time when a Jew, just not such a long time ago, had none of that. There was a time, it's a story that's well documented. It's a story I say over in other situations, but to me there's something very powerful about this story for this particular moment in terms of understanding that from all the horror and from the tragedy and from the tears comes a joy so deep that nothing really, there will be no void. We're seeing it right now because when we're fully connected we can see it. How can that be? Could it happen? Let me just share with you a story. And you'll tell me whether this is not somebody literally, in the horror of horrors, able to see pure joy. The story is about 40 teenage boys that were transported in 1944, maybe early 1945, from Hungary to the concentration camps. And in this particular concentration camp, while the typical rule was if you're over 16 years old, you were spared for work, this particular commandant said no. If you're 18 or if you're below 18, you went to the gas chambers. And these 40 Hungarian teenage boys between 16 and 18 years old were told to go into the gas chamber. And there they were, stripped of their clothing, waiting in darkness, trying to picture a moment, 16, 17-year-old kids. It's impossible to imagine. But one of them starts opening up his mouth and saying to the rest of them, wait a minute. Who's right and who's wrong? Are we going to let these people in? Do you know what tonight is? He says to them, tonight is Simchas Torah. If we'd be back in Hungary, we'd be singing and we'd be dancing, and we're not going to do that now. We have an eternity that we're about to go to. We have an Olam Emes, so we're going to be connected to Hakadosh Baruch Hu forever. These animals are going to be rotting in Gehenna for eternity. Who's stronger? Who's happier? Who's more fortunate? Let's sing. And believe me when I tell you, because it's a well-documented story, as unbelievable as it is, he started singing Ashreinu, Matov Chokeinu. And just as if they'd be in that steeple in Hungary, Ashreinu, they started singing it. And to me, the story ends right here. To me, that was what I got out of this particular episode. That it is possible to be in the horror of horrors, to be in a world so devoid of any humanity, and yet that Yiddish Neshama sees, what am I down about? I have a Hakadosh Baruch Hu. I asked myself when I read the story, have I ever been as happy as that 16-year-old kid saying Ashreinu? I can't imagine. Do I have within my heart to sing Ashreinu? I have no idea. We hope we never come to deal with that issue. But it's hard to imagine. But such clarity, such joy. And there's no greater joy. If you can sing Ashreinu, and 40 boys can sing Ashreinu under those circumstances, wow. That's Rob B'Simchasa. There's a joy in that recognition that nobody can touch. Nobody can get near. The amazing end to that story, which to me is almost part of the Baruch, I guess, his twists and turns are boundless. But the end of that story, in the end of that very well documented story, is that when the commandant heard the singing, he said, "What's going on in there?" And the other said, "I don't know. I never heard that before. I don't know. They're singing." He says, "No one sings on my watch. No one dies through song. You get them out, and I'll make sure they die tomorrow without singing." So he took them out. He put them in the barracks. And the next morning, a higher up from different camps, needed labor. He took those 40 boys, and every one of them survived the war. Every one of them. That's the end of the story. But I think we have to really understand this is the joy that literally can come from a Tisha B'Av, the Korelai Moed, the Yontif that is inherent in this, in the tears that we shed, in the connection that we feel to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the fact that we truly are missing our Father, because that missing, when we miss, that longing is right there. That's what creates, that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. If all of us, if enough of us, I should say, have that longing, and have that connection, and shed those tears, and feel that the family unit is not where it should be. We want to take care of Tati's children. With Tati's sons and Tati's daughters matter to me. And therefore, it doesn't matter whether they're close or not close. Should he hit the layup or shouldn't he hit the layup? Is he in a wheelchair? Is he not in a wheelchair? He could be as close to me and as like me as it doesn't matter. But it's a family unit. I want to bring this family unit back to an orderly situation. I want my father to get close. I miss him. We see clearly, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you miss me, if you truly miss me, if you're yearning for me, not only will you individually have such joy with the recognition of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your midst, but Bez Hashem, we know that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say, die to all the suffering. So let's hope, Bez Hashem, we can take from this incredible day, this incredibly sad day, the joy that we're going to need, the connection that HaKadosh Baruch Hu we're going to need, the Ahavas Yisrael that we're going to need, the fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we're all going to need. And that's Chus, Bez Hashem. All of us, together with every member of Klal Yisrael, Bez Hashem, see the end of all suffering, and well, Bez Hashem, very soon, the B'yas Mashiach may be reigning.